Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, and it is another brand new episode of Who's That Cosplayer? And joining me today is somebody who has such phenomenal cosplays that they've done, and I can't wait to talk about it in this interview, and that is the Haunted Manda. Manda, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for joining me up here on Who's That Cosplayer. So before we get into today's interview, everybody that's watching, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And as D always says, podcast link down in the description. Like, follow, subscribe. So Amanda, the first question that I always ask every guest on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks is, what is your origin story? Every hero or villain has one, so tell everybody who you are.
Okay, there's a lot to that. I guess I can start with my cosplay origin story. I guess that's a great place to start.
We got all the time in the world. Let's do it.
Okay, so for cosplay, I started out in high school, I think 9th grade, actually. I spent back then, I was spending a lot of time in the school's library. I'm kind of introverted, which kind of surprises people. It depends on the environment, but back then I was way more introverted. And so the library was like my home base. And so I was looking at things, and then I discovered that there are people who, get into costume outside of Halloween. I love Halloween. I grew up loving Halloween. So for me to find out that people do this not just on one day, but any time of the year, got me really excited. So I figured out, okay, so the next upcoming convention near me is Anime Expo. And that was in 2009. And so it was 2009. And it's hard to remember back then. But I decided, okay, let's go ahead and get a cosplay in order. Let's just go ahead and just toss myself out there. That's the best way for me personally, not for everybody, but for me personally, to just go about it. And so I picked Summoner Yuna from Final Fantasy X. And that was my first convention, my first cosplay. And yeah, I just loved it ever since. I staffed for Anime Los Angeles for a number of years. And then I went to Anime Expo. I've been going to ALA. I went to Equestria, Los Angeles, which is a My Little Pony convention. It's no longer around, but it was really cool because I did love and still do appreciate My Little Pony as well. But yeah, I've been to Crunchyroll Expo, so many different conventions. And of course, throughout all that time, I've been doing so many different cosplays.
Yes, yeah, and we're going to talk about that because like I had said at the start of the interview, and that's not me just saying that, but you have some pretty phenomenal cosplays. How I had came across you was because of a cosplay page, and they shared your Sonic the Hedgehog cosplay, and I was just like, yo, I commented on it. I was just like, hey, instant follow, because Sonic the Hedgehog is one of my favorite video game characters of all time. And who doesn't love the line, Sega does what Nintendo don't? You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, when I saw that cosplay, I was just like, I have to follow you. And, when I was doing the deep dive and, getting the slideshow together and just seeing like all of the amazing costumes that you've done and, your style of the cosplays that you've done, like they were just awesome. And then you did Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. So that's just really cool. And something I wanted to piggyback off of was, I interviewed a cosplayer named Sakura Nagamasa, and you can check out her interview. It is up here on our YouTube channel. But when she came up here, she cosplayed as Yuna, and Yuna is one of her favorite characters from Final Fantasy. So when you just said that for your first con, you cosplayed as Yuna, and then me being a huge Final Fantasy fan as well, one of my cosplays that I want to do, future cosplays, I want to cosplay as Titus, because Titus was he still is my favorite Final Fantasy character. And, Final Fantasy X just holds a special place in my heart. So I think that's awesome that your first cosplay was Yuna from Final Fantasy. So I want to ask you now, with all of the costumes that you've done over the years, now, you make these yourself, because these are all unique costumes. I love the wardrobe. I love that, it's a dress, it's a completed outfit. It's not your typical cosplay that you normally see people in, even though you do have, your normal cosplays. Like I've seen Snow White on your page, and, I've seen Valkyrie, and like that's, something normally that you would see in the cosplay community. But like the other costumes that you've done, like, are those things that you've made yourself?
Yeah, a lot of the things that you see that aren't how would I put this? exact to the T within the creative work that it's from, that's me. All of me, like just coming up with these different concepts. Designing is something I've been into for a very long time. And so I figured, why not incorporate that with cosplay? And so there's different concepts that I've come up with. Some of it I started out not making because I started out not knowing how to sew. Like when I was in high school, just sewing, like I didn't know at that time. So I had things made for me. But more and more throughout the years, it's me making my stuff with my mom, like, and then me doing it independently. And it's just, I've gained a lot of sewing skills from my mom. She's my mentor.
That's awesome. And, I love it when I interview cosplayers and they say that their parents were, heavily involved in their cosplay journeys. And I think that that's cool that your mom, like, she taught you this skill, because a lot of cosplayers don't know how to sew. And that's something that I hear in a lot of interviews that I have, is that, either I don't know how to sew, but I know how to make props, or I don't know how to make props, but I know how to sew. So I think that that's awesome that your mom, she helped you out when you first started and you leveled up. And just seeing like all of the creations that you've done, like they're really amazing. Like, how long does it usually take you to put something together?
It depends on the project. For instance, I can't say what it is because I'm debuting it next month. And for me, like when I debut a new cosplay at a convention, I wait until the day before, just because, that's a tradition for me. But one of the things that I just recently made, it took me, I'd say about a week, but that doesn't factor in the fact that I also have a full-time job. So I make things outside of my job.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. And I think that that's cool that, that it doesn't really take you that long to put this stuff together, man. And, now I want to ask you, because again, I'm going to keep on saying this, like your stuff, like it's really awesome, man. And, when I was putting the slideshow together and I was just looking at everything, of course, like I had already mentioned before, your Sonic cosplay, I really loved it. But then when I was going down and doing the deep dive, I saw your Sailor Moon. I was just like, yo, this is dope. So I want to ask you, what have been some of your favorite cosplays that you've created?
Ooh, the Sailor Moon one was definitely one of my favorites from last year. For me, I have fond memories of that for multiple reasons. Sailor Moon was one of my first anime series that I watched when I was about 5 years old. And then also for me, just like being able to sew something that means so much to me, has meant so much to me throughout the years, because without Sailor Moon, I wouldn't be who I am. And so, that definitely is one of my favorites. Another one is this one that I actually have on right now. This is Luz Noseda from the Owl House. And she's really important to me as a character because she's a character of color, and representation is very, very important to me. And also she's an LGBTQIA plus character as well. And me being from the community as well, that means a lot to me. And so this was very fun for me to work on and create. Let's see, others that I like, the Sonic one, as you said, the Sonic one, to me, I can't talk about the Sonic one without talking about the Knuckles and Tails, because that's part of a collection that I designed and made. And that actually, I drew a lot of inspiration from Sonic Heroes, which is one of my favorite games that I played a lot when I was a kid.
That feeling. When I saw them, I had that feeling.
I love Sonic Heroes. So for me, I really wanted to make a Team Sonic collection, and that's what I went about doing. And so for me, again, that's reaching out like to part of my childhood, and still to this day, I still like going back and revisiting Sonic games. So that was really special and important to me. Other cosplays, there's just so many that like, it's hard to think of them all, honestly. Like, it really is. I think another one was, there's Mary from My Next Life as a Villainess, which is an anime series that I really like. It's very funny and just, there's a lot to it. And so my Mary is one that I really enjoy as well, like, because again, representation, and she is a character within the LGBTQIA plus community, so again, very important to me. And then she's just a very fun character overall. So yeah, honestly, it's hard for me. I've done so many cosplays that it's hard for me to pick favorites, but those are some.
All right, now if I ask you this question, because your boy Benjamin Banks, I love to sing up here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Usually my co-hosts, they get tired of me singing Four Town from Turning Red. I call us Three Town, even though they don't like that. But you mentioned Sonic Heroes, and it took me back down memory lane. That intro song that they had. Do you know the lyrics to the song? Do you ever just break out and just start singing Sonic Heroes,
Sonic Heroes?
Oh my god!
Yeah, I know that. See, for me, like, there's so many like songs through the Sonic like universe that I love. Crush 40 is like, oh my gosh, so awesome. And then from Sonic Heroes too, just Team Dark. Like Rouge, I have to be honest, Rouge is my favorite character of all time, has been ever since I was a kid. Nice. And so Team Dark, their theme is just like, so cool. Like I remember all these songs like pretty well. I think some of them, like maybe a couple of side songs, but like every Team Chaotix, just every team, like it's just unforgettable. Lyrics unforgettable, the beat is unforgettable, just everything.
What's crazy, man, and I love that we're talking about Sonic Heroes, because I remember when that game first came out, and I can't remember how old I was when the game first came out, but I went to Blockbuster when they were still around, and I was just like, yo, I'm old enough where I can get my own Blockbuster card now. And that was the first game that I rented from Blockbuster, and I was so mad that I did not beat it before I had to take it back. Like I beat everybody's stories except what was Amy's team? It was Amy, Big the Cat, and
Cream and Cheese.
They were the only one that I didn't beat, because I felt like in the game, it's like each character, they had a difficulty to their story, and I believe that theirs was like the easiest one. So I was just like, I really want a challenge, but in order to get the perfect ending, you have to beat everybody's story.
Yeah.
So that was one of my things that I was disappointed about. But
were you able to go back and play, like, get the game again? Okay, I don't want to spoil anything.
No, it's fine. No, I was one of those type of people where it's just like, if I got a game from Blockbuster, if I didn't beat it, I just went ahead and got something else, because I felt like I had unlimited power because I could rent whatever I wanted. But I want to ask you now, going to conventions over the years, like, what have been some of your favorite moments from going there?
For me, there's a lot of different moments that I really enjoy, and then most of them come from Anime Los Angeles, which is they've moved locations throughout the years. When I started going to them, they were like my closest convention, and they started out, or when I started going to the convention, they were at the Marriott near the LAX. And the thing that I loved about that got me hooked on that convention is that there's a real sense of community there, and like there's people who, they know each other, and they look forward to seeing each other all the time. And then there's like a ribbon game that happens there, so that gets people engaged and communicating and interacting with each other. And for me, just going to ALA throughout the years, like participating in moments where, I'm playing these games to try to earn ribbons and things like that, that's really fun for me. Another thing is, sorry, there's dogs. My dogs are kind of barking.
It's cool. Let me snap my finger. Hey, they stopped for real work. Who's that cosplayer?
It's not the pop ninja.
But another thing is just meeting people. Like, I've made so many friends through conventions that, like, I just wouldn't have these friendships without these conventions. Like, they really introduced me to many people, and just being able to talk so much about, interests that we share. Like the way that you and I are talking about Sonic, that we talked about Sonic, like I've been able to talk about all sorts of anime series, all sorts of video games. And to me, as somebody who's grown up and still does watch anime, as somebody who grew up as a gamer and still is a gamer, it's just great. Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, I love that, man. And like, that is one thing that I always say when it comes to conventions. And one of the reasons why I love going to cons is because you meet so many people, you make friendships, and then it's just like, you know, you can cosplaying together and then, you know, do duets with people. And, you know, I just love like the anime community at these cons, because it's like you said, like everybody's just so nice, they're so welcoming, and it's just like, it's always been positive experiences at cons for me. I know that, you know, sometimes people don't always have, you know, positive experiences, and, you know, for the people that ruin those experiences for those people, F you guys. Yeah, that's the PG way of saying that. But no, man, I you know, love, because you said growing up you were an introvert, and then it's just like you go to these conventions and, you know, you become an extrovert, you know, because it's just like you're meeting so many people, and then, you know, people want to take pictures with you because of the costume that you have on, and you want to take pictures with people because of the costumes they have on. And like you were saying, you know, you talk about video games and all that stuff, and you just never know what's going to happen at a convention. And, you know, that's the reason why I love the cosplay community. I love the convention scene, and, you know, I wouldn't change it for the world. You know, I wish that it's, you know, something that, you know, people can just keep on going to, especially now because the, you know, the world is opening back up. And I know that it was hard for people when, you know, the conventions were closed and whatnot. And, you know, I want to ask you now, like, what were you doing to fulfill that cosplay need, because you couldn't go to the conventions because of the pandemic?
For me, I was doing a lot of cosplaying and painting at home. I was also in a couple of groups with some cosplay friends. So like we kind of were like a mental health support group for each other through this time as well. Because, you know, not being able to, one thing about the conventions is that there are bright lights throughout like what can be challenging years for all, you know, people from just different walks of life. Like these are very bright lights. So for those to kind of be taken away can be a bit challenging, and kind of make it feel as if the weight of the world is like even heavier during that kind of time. So like it's important to have those like support groups with each other. Like that was one of the things that brought us together during like in those groups. But yeah, I was doing a lot of painting at home. I paint parasols. That's one of the things that I do. And so I was doing parasol after parasol after parasol after parasol. And then same thing with cosplays and just, you know, trying to churn out things. And I'm glad that I did that for multiple reasons. One of the reasons is, you know, it helps, like, as it's not talked about, I guess, as much as it could be, but like one of the things that's important, like as a cosplayer, is managing finance. So making sure that, you know, it helps that I've got all of these cosplays that I've never worn at conventions. And now that things are opening back up again, as you said, it's a great time for me to bring out these cosplays. And I don't have to then, you know, make myself feel even more pressure to turn out more new things. Like, so I can take my time with creating new things, which is what I've been doing as things have been opening up. But even though I'm still making new things, I have these things that, again, I've not worn at conventions. And so if I want to, you know, take them out for a spin, that's definitely an option.
Now, because you have all of these costumes that you didn't get a chance to wear at the conventions because of the pandemic, are you one of those cosplayers that switches in between like 2 to 3 costumes at a con? Or are you just hey, I'm wearing this one cosplay, I wear a different one the next day?
It depends on the convention. If it's a one-day convention and I'm just like driving from my house to the convention, then no, I'm not going to like switch up cosplays, because, you know, that would be a lot of driving, and already that's kind of a strain. But if it's like a multi-day convention, then yeah, of course, there's going to be at least one day where I'm doing more than one cosplay per day. I recently went to Dapper Day Expo in April, and on the last day I had a morning cosplay and a night cosplay. I learned things from those like times, because for me, like, it's best for me to get pictures in cosplay when there's like natural daylight out as opposed to like artificial indoor lighting. And so like that can make debuting a night cosplay a little bit more of a challenge because the artificial light is kind of gone by that time. So that, makes me even more interested in just wearing that cosplay again and going out and trying to get pictures during the daytime. But it's interesting trying to juggle everything, that's for sure.
Okay. So now, we're getting towards the end of the interview, and I have two questions that I want to ask you before we wrap this thing up. The first question that I want to ask you is because you mentioned that, you love to paint and whatnot. And I just wanted to ask you, what are some of your hobbies that you're into when you're not cosplaying? I know you mentioned painting, you're a video gamer, you watch anime, like let everybody know, what are you into?
Yeah, so I'm a gamer, so I do like playing games. Mainly like on the PS5. I grew up playing with multiple systems like GameCube, N64, the Switch, PlayStation consoles. Like I grew up with a lot of that. So like I'm definitely a console person. I do like watching anime, of course. I like designing. I did mention that as well. And so I'm constantly trying to design new things that I then want to go and create for cosplay. And then also there's, a lot of different things that I'm interested. I'm a writer as well. Not like published. I'm definitely not published. I like writing fan fiction. And so I do that when I can, when the inspiration strikes. I have been doing that since middle school. Yeah. So that's something that I've been doing for a while. I'm trying to think of other things. Painting, of course, is something. Making these hats in addition to the cosplay. These hats are fascinator hats, and they can be expensive to make, but they're really fun for me to, they're just a fun time. And learning new languages, or just kind of revisiting languages as well. Because my second language throughout high school was actually Japanese. So
nice.
Going back and trying to reinforce my language, because if you don't use it, you will lose it.
Exactly. That is true.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, those are just a few of my hobbies. It's hard to like think of everyone on the spot, but yeah.
Hey, that's awesome. I mean, it's so pretty much it's like, you have a toolbox with a bunch of tools in it because you have so many different hobbies that you love to do, and you just have so much experience in it, and you've come so far from when you first started to where you are now. So it's like you leveled up, and because you're a gamer, you've gained so much experience points that it's just like you're at level 99, or are you at level 99, or are you at level 50 and you're still leveling up? Like, what level are you at right now? If you were in the video, if you were in Final Fantasy, what level would you be at right now?
Oh, honestly, that's hard to say. I mean, I feel like even just outside of like a Final Fantasy setting, like whether you're talking like other games too, like leveling up, and other games too, like Paper Mario or, things like that. I don't think that I'm at the end of the game. I haven't reached the end of the game for sure. That's ideally will never happen. I will always keep making progress and always keep leveling up. That is the goal. But I'd say maybe somewhere in the middle. That way I've, because I've made so much progress already, but there's so much more that I'd like to keep learning and keep on accomplishing.
Okay, so like in the 40s.
50.
50? Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I shortchanged you. Okay, the 50s. Okay.
You're good.
So the final question that I have for you is, because earlier in the interview you mentioned that that you love Halloween, and that's one thing that I love about a lot of cosplayers is because Halloween is like everybody's gateway into cosplay. And this is a question that Dee always asks our guests on the podcast. If you could tell me one of your favorite horror movies from either the 80s or 90s, like which one is one of your favorites?
Okay, that's easy. That's Scream from Wes Craven. I love the Scream franchise, and the original one really set the bar, and there's just so much about it that I love how self-aware the film is. And then the main trio, like their roots in that first film, it's really interesting to see, compare where they were then versus how far they've come.
Hey, and I mean, and the franchise is still going good. I haven't watched the TV show, but I've heard nothing but good things about the TV show as well. So, the Scream franchise, along with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, two franchises, because it's not often where somebody creates two franchises where it's just like of course Nightmare on Elm Street isn't going strong like it used to be, but back in the day, like it was movie after movie after movie after movie, and they were all hits. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me up here on Who's That Cosplayer. You are awesome. Thank you for letting me interview you today. And before I let you go, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you.
Okay. Thank you for having me, first of all. I really appreciated being here. So yeah, everybody can find me on Instagram and Twitter at thehauntedmanda. So that's THEHAUNTEDMANDA. That's inspired by the Haunted Mansion.
I love it, man. I love it. And hey, y'all know where y'all can find me, your hero Benjamin Banks at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you again, everybody, for watching this interview. Make sure you check out some more interviews that we have on the channel, along with reaction videos, reviews. Make sure you check out our podcast. The link is down below in the description, where we have new episodes every Tuesday. And then on Friday, the video of that episode is up on YouTube. That being said, keep that pinky up, stay positive. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.